Hello there, my name is Kieran Flitton and I play Hades in Eve of October. What brought me to the project? Well, that's actually very quite simple. Hades, in essence. The second I got a look at that character design, lights went off in my head. I've always been a huge Tolkien-esque fan, that dominion of fantasy that occupies elven mythos. It's always been huge to me. There is nowhere I could have ever passed up a chance to play an elf. And Hades is actually just the embodiment of the perfect ideal character. That character definitely brought me to the project, but more so I would say the artwork. It was very well drawn, and I just remember being really drawn into it. A little about myself, huh? Well, I was born in northeast England, British national. Lovely place to grow up. It's very rich in culture. The people are quite colourful, to say the least. I've studied acting for a number of years, live action, of course, and in the past handful of years, I've really got into voice acting. I like it. It offers that additional level of escape into a character that your physical body denies you from doing. But with your voice, you can occupy a vessel in another world quite easily. Within reason, of course. What inspires me to walk my path of talent? Well, quite simply, it's all about the immersion. In this lifetime, on planet Earth, right here and now, you and I will likely, well, I say likely because, crazy things happen. We'll likely never get the chance to mount up some bloody divine beast and just ride into a battlefield borne back, ready to fight a race of evil aliens. However, through acting, you can. A part of yourself can go on into this other world and give life to a character. An essence of yourself lives on in this fictional plane, and it's a very romantic concept that I really like. It enables you a window into a world in which we could never otherwise occupy. And I believe that's what fiction is all about. Stories, they're just little windows into these more ideal worlds. And through acting, I can slip just the tiniest slither of my essence through this window. Yes, moments that I really enjoyed in the episode, well, that is quite simple. I think a lot of us had a bunch of fun during the whole elven dialogue, where Brian Tubbs' character insinuates that Hades is an elf, and there's this whole back and forth dialogue of Hades being utterly baffled by the concept, even though he clearly is, in essence, an elf. Who knows, he probably inspired Tolkien into making up that fictional race. That domain of fantasy, it really rings a bell with me, so I had endless fun with that. Another scene that really did affect me was on the roof with Hades. Up until this point, Hades was very much the perfect character. He was strong, driven, courageous, brave, morally convicted. He was in essence he was an ideal hero. But then on the roof, when he relays his story, you get that glimpse beneath the surface. And there's more to Hades than just a blank hero type robot. In fact, you can tell that it's his past that makes him so. Whatever's affected him before has clearly driven him on to be perfect. I think even to the point where he's sacrificed his own life, in essence, so that others can live theirs. And I just really reveled in seeing that extra depth of Hades. The character I identify most with is, quite obviously, as you likely have guessed, Hades. It's the person he is. It's what I as a person, and I would hope that anyone listening would agree with me that anyone would want to be. He's flawless and has a strew of amazing points. He's someone that's strived to overcome everything that's held him back to become the best he could be. Who do I admire as talent in this project? Well, this is a question I can't really answer because I really just admire everyone across the board. You have Laura Paulist, who's very verbally dynamic, and you have a whole slew of characters who just, they have lovely diction. Each of them ranges differently in what makes them really good. Brian Tubbs, for instance, his performances are very natural. And you have others who are, they've got lovely character voices. Voices you can tell were made for voicing characters. And also a round of applause to Mars for his amazing artwork and dedication. And as I have seen, our music composers' scores are quite beautifully complimentive of the artwork. I'd give a round of applause to the whole cast and production team of this thing. If Haley's had a favourite place to visit, where would it be? I have this image in my head of a kind of cove hidden in a dense rainforest. There's a beautiful waterfall and no signs of any humanoid life forms within thousands of miles. It's just Haley's in this tranquil place, surrounded by nature, by himself, somewhere he can be at peace, far from the strife of man, Tupol, Baulor, and otherwise. I think this is a place where Haley could find his own inner peace. Yes, I do admit I am quite a fan of anime. It's a beautiful art form, and I have to say my favorite anime, if you'll permit me, movies into this would be this anything by Studio Ghibli. The amount of detail and care that goes into their works are phenomenal. Every time I watch it, I feel like I'm 6 years old again and just discovering Christmas. It fills you with that feeling of endless possibility that you kind of had when you were a child but you lost when you became an adult. The world kind of hammers it out of you, but every now and then you'll encounter something that reminds you of that childish innocence, and I relish that kind of thing. My favorite project from the past? This. Bang. That, dear listeners, is the kind of ideal answer you're meant to give him this kind of thing. It's a trick question. Don't let them fool you. Yes, I've done, in fact, most of my history has been theatre acting. Right since the equivalent of high school over here, or it'd be secondary school, I guess. I've relished theatre for reasons mentioned above. Stage acting really appeals to me because you get that face value. You get to occupy the space of the character, but I wouldn't say that it ranks higher in my list of things I love than voice acting. And yes, I do in fact have quite the array of talents. For instance, I can fly, I'm immortal, I can turn invisible, and I can speak to penguins. I don't know why penguins, it's quite, it's a useless talent actually. I mean, I never actually see any penguins in England, so, and even if they really have nothing good to say. I mean, they just basically talk about fish. It's quite boring actually. Wouldn't mind pawning that talent off. Just send me an email if you want the talent of talking to penguins. They're awful company. Cute but terrible conversationists. Actually, I'm quite I'm quite well versed in accents. I know a lot of people that have a problem with them. It's almost like the rolling of the tongue. Some people are more prone to it than others, I think. But it depends. In America, there's naturally an array of accents. But I've been a student of English language in the past, studied that for many years, and without getting into boring you, Americans, they basically branched out from one batch of people. The accents across America today are quite restricted when you look at the history of Britain, and that the immense number of accents you have just travelling from mile to mile in this country. But yes, it is quite difficult with the Boston accents and the New York accents, because some of them are just very, very slight differences, whereas others are just quite random punctuations altogether. And trust me, you would be able to tell one English accent from the others. Some are quite posh and refined, and others are just common as the soil. Case in point, you have the Queen's English, and then you have that stereotypical kind of Scouser accent, like the Oliver Twist kind of child's accent. This is a very, very interesting question about do actors draw from their own experiences? Well, I've read that many actors do this. They kind of they lock themselves away to a dark place inside of them, and they kind of bring forth repressed emotion from a similar event that they might have experienced, that the character is experiencing. But at the risk of sounding terrible, I've never needed to do that. I've put it simply, I've been able to leave my mind and occupy a character's mind. I can feel what they felt without actually experiencing it myself. It's I think it's just very strong empathy. And at the end of the day, that's kind of why I do it too, because some of these experiences we can never understand what these characters are going through. For Healy's, I'll never know what it's like to lose a whole family. No, God forbid. Or a whole tribe or race of your own people. But when I occupy Healy's mindset and voice him, I do experience this. I have to. And it gives you a chance to see and feel a world beyond our own. And that's what I love about it.